Hello, class. Jinx here from lovely Shepherd Air Force Base, Texas. This is not my house. This is my dorm room while I am attending the non-commissioned officer academy. Yay! Uh, so I've elected to do a video because I really like to hear myself talk. So uh, I hope it seems interesting. I guess if I don't get very many responses, I'll know that I shouldn't do this for the rest of the class. All right, I'm going to get right into it to keep these down, the time down. But things I noticed about myself as a writer. I really want me on paper. I know we all say that. I think where it gets different is the me part, which is obvious, but I'm weird. I don't really fit any bill, and I wear a lot of different hats, all the typical cliche answers. But where I think it directly ties to my writing is that I'm very loose and short. I'm sporadic, and I try to hone that in quite a bit, and I'm very to the point. When it comes to strategies for revision and critique, I greatly appreciate them because one, the obvious grammatical stuff that you just happen to miss because when you write it, you think it's perfect. Even after you edit it, and you're like, man, I only edited a little bit of stuff. But the other part is the most important to me, and that's the intent. To see those gaps between, even after I put it down for a week and I pick it back up, the things that I thought were clearly a link between two concepts in my book, and then it's like, oh, wait, we never got there because it wasn't explained well enough. I'm like, thanks, that's the kind of stuff I needed, honestly. Um, Similarities in other works, not really. I think my writing style is weaker than most or different. I'm not really sure which. I'd like to think that I'm not a horrible writer. I just appeal to a smaller, very um, off brand type audience, which I think kind of ties into advice for similar genres, which would be to be honest with yourself. Like, I think I have been. I know I write for a very small audience. I don't expect a large following or a large paycheck or anything like that because the content of the type of writing I want to do would not apply to such mediums. And by the same token, knowing your genre, I think, is knowing the length of your work. I'm never going to be writing any epics in my genre. I'll be sticking to the shorter works, which is fine with me. I think that works for my content, my dream, if you will, for a series and all that good jazz. So my process as a writer. I am a gold, which if you don't know, I'm very organized. I like things nice and neat, and I have a process. So whenever I have a new idea for a story, I always start with a chapter outline. From my chapter outline, I will tie it to a date outline, which will be by this time I will have these done. On these days, I will do these chapters, the whole kit and caboodle, down to even scheduling leave so that I can be home to write those chapters if needed. Once the work is done, I put it down, walk away for an obligatory amount of time, depending on how long it is. Then I will pick it up for editing. Now, for my revision method, I always start by adding new content. I'll read it through one time, add what I need to add for what I noticed as plot holes. Then I do what an instructor probably like 5, 6 classes ago told me, which I took to heart. You always start big, go small with editing. So cut pages. He was like, if you find a whole page and it's not beneficial, cut it. Then you'll go down to paragraphs, cut them. Then sentences, cut them. Then you get into grammar, getting rid of useless words, checking your punctuation, spelling, all that. Because he said to do it any other way, you're wasting your time. Why start with sentences when you find out the whole page was worthless? And he said to be honest. If by the end of it you haven't cut a whole bunch, then you're lying to yourself, which I've held to, and I think it's helped me out quite a bit. Now, lastly, my dislikes and likes in fiction, which, thank you, was an eye-opener because I think it directly ties to me as a writer because my dislikes. I hate overly descriptive language. I don't like fantasy for that reason. I'm not a, Tolkien fan. The Fire and Ice saga was a little touch and go because I don't like that. I'm not into the whole let's build a whole new world kind of thing. I don't want to see it. I'm more about the characters. And that's why one of my favorite authors, Arthur Nersesian, all but one of his books that I know of, all take place in New York. I still get that sensory description, but the base work is already there. I know what New York is like. He doesn't have to go that far into depth, so there's more on the characters, less on that. I really like that. Now my likes, I like crazy characters, whether that's kooky, funny, criminally insane, whatever it may be. I like it. I like unreliable narrators. And those two things kind of tie to my work. I don't like overly descriptive language, therefore I don't use it. And I usually write unreliable characters and narrators. Now, my effectiveness on those is what's up for debate, and that's where it all ties back into that critique and revision. I look to you guys because you are my peers, and I think that we all got here because we have some talent. And whether you like my genre or not, I don't hold that against the critique you give me. If you're telling me that I'm doing something and it's not reaching my end goal, I trust you guys. And I'm going to use that because when that book goes on the shelf, I want to know that I put in the effort so that anybody that wants to take it off the shelf and read it, they get me. They get the real me. They may think it's crazy. They may think it's inappropriate, but it was an educated process. And I didn't just go into it half-hearted. So I guess that's it. If you stuck through to the end, thank you. I appreciate it. And if you didn't, then you're not going to hear this, but I'm sorry that I was so boring. But I can't wait to hear your replies, and maybe if I get a bunch, I can actually justify doing another video. Thanks for listening.